Anastasia, ¿qué pasa? How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. Thanks as always for joining us. And for those who haven't heard us or tuned in to a Z Brief before, um, Anastasia, who normally is one of our projectionists at the International Film Series, has been helping by watching some of the films that we have available through the internationalfilmseries.com website. And we'd like to highlight specific titles that recently get added to the roster. Today, we're going to talk about Vinyl Nation. We actually have a lot of other music-related offerings that you can see through our website. For example, we've got Jimmy Carter Rock and Roll President's going to be available as of Friday. And we've also got a string of other ones, including Meeting the Beatles in India, Mr. Soul, Jazz on a Summer Night, a Gordon Lightfoot documentary, yeah, and a couple other things. But we're going to be talking about Vinyl Nation, which for those of you who like vinyl, and hopefully there's a lot of you out there who do, because of course, if you come to the International Film Series, where we still show celluloid, we're very much kindred spirits with the our analog brothers. What'd you think of the doc, Anna?
I really enjoyed it. It showed, I think, a great range of the different ways you can appreciate vinyl, from it being music on a very basic level to also just appreciating the artwork of the albums and the different types of pressings, and even people recreating the pictures on the albums through their own Instagram and social media. So it just showed how diverse the world of vinyl is. And it was cool to see not only the appreciation of vinyl, but also the production process of how it
Mhm.
is, how it all comes together. And I was surprised with the range of topics that it covered, from how it fits in culturally and with the different generations and different sections of culture, to also talking about the environmental impacts of liking vinyl and supporting it.
Yeah.
So all around, I thought it was just a really comprehensive and enjoyable doc.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I was glad that when at the very beginning, I was a little worried that it might just be a documentary about Record Day. So I'm really glad that it branched out, and it did cover a lot of different areas. For me, I think I'm always a little bit more interested in like the technical end of things, and thankfully they do have some of that in there. I was surprised to hear, for example, that colored vinyl doesn't sound as good, and then I really hoped or wished that they'd gone a little deeper into that, like why.
Mhm.
um, but anyway, and there's also a lot of sort of poetic liberties that they take in terms of talking about that the diamond, when they're talking about the diamond tip of the stylus as it rumbles down the vinyl canyon. um, and so there is going to be a little bit of nostalgia for those of us who are nostalgic. That's okay. There's also a little bit of people who are taking a step back and saying, it's when they're asked about is does the vinyl really sound better? And there's you get a surprising number of people who are just like, well, compared to what? And one person said something that I couldn't help but agree with, which is that um, as you know, I love vinyl, but I have noticed that I have some cassette tapes that are 30 years old that actually do sound better than some of the crappy vinyl pressings.
Mhm.
It's like anything else. You might have a particular vinyl pressing that is fantastic, just out of this world, but you can also have something that just was, cheaply put together, not very good quality. And so there's, you can't just you can't just say, oh yes, all vinyl is going to sound better than everything all the time.
Right. And I think that's true really with all forms of analog too. There are some things that, with any media, not just analog, but there are things that are just made better than
Well,
other.
I mean, it's like anything else. Even with film, sometimes you're going to have a film that's maybe faded or it's going to be scratched, but it is a different medium.
Right.
And I really, boy, I this is going to be a moment where what I was tempted to do was go into my other room and get the 2 albums that caught my eye as a 5-year-old in my parents' record collection. And that would have been, yeah, I've told you the story before, I think, but it's the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's, and then the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request, because they were both so colorful. And I am still listening to those albums today. And then flash forward to like back when Netscape was a big thing, and or not Netscape, Napster. And I downloaded so much music. I mean, just tons and tons of, like, just 2 hard drives worth that were crammed. And then during a move, they got erased. So all that stuff is gone. All these weird things that I'd found from all around the world, gone. But these 2 albums that I started listening to when I was 5, they're still there. So there's something to be said for solid media. And that's one of the reasons that I really like the celluloid aspect of film, because we have our own archive for titles that we can bring out at any time, and they're not at risk of evaporating behind some weird legal limbo. But anyway, and at this point, I'm just preaching to the converted. We're talking again about Vinyl Nation, which is available through our website, and it's a fun doc, and it's kind of nice to. For me, one of the pleasures of the doc is that it goes into some of the record stores that I've visited throughout the country, like Amoeba Record Store in San Francisco, and just to be able to, see it again, because it's been several years. And of course, those of you here in Boulder, you should know that you've got Bart's that you can still go to. And then a friend, Doug Gaddy, has his record store in Longmont. So the options are still there, and they are still, even during the plague, they're open to the public, so you can support them. And it's a fun, lovely, family-friendly doc that anyone can enjoy. Highly recommend it, and also just, again, remind people that there are so many other musical-related options for these. What we're calling theatrical video on demand opportunities, where they split the profits with the distributor and then with us, the exhibitor. So with that, we'll keep this one nice and short. Anastasia, thanks again for joining. Thank you. I'll be talking to you shortly about our task for next week, but I'll sign off for now. And thanks to anyone who's watching and listening.